Welcome to the following presentation of Minor League Esports on the MLE Network.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Minor League Esports here on the mainstream, twitch.tv/MLE Esports GGP. You already knew that because you're already here. We're here with week 6 of the regular season. We are halfway through the season, and I'm running out of breath, so I'm just going to take a breath. I am Fallen, and joining me today for the broadcast once again is Thunder. A great series to kick things off for us. The Premier League, living up to the name, Premier Action. Great comeback from the Hurricanes to take down the Spartans 3-2, but this one arguably could be a lot closer in terms of just not having such a massive swing in the middle of the series. It could easily just be a back and forth game after game sort of series.
I'm starting to believe that the coulds is just anything. It could be anything. Who really knows? I mean, we've got stats to go on. We have got franchise histories and all that good stuff. But the players seem to have this inclination to just toss that out the window and do whatever they want to do in the match. And I think that's the great thing about MLE. You will see upsets left, right, and center if you start making too bold a prediction. And here, one would be liable to say, hey, the Puffins have a way better record. They're 15-5 in doubles for Foundation League, which is very good. But the Aviators might come out swinging here. We don't really know. And all we can say for sure is that there are 4 players on the field here. A big spread in salary, I will say. If the roster sheet here is correct, it goes all the way from 6.5 up to 9.5 between the 4 players that are on the field here. So there will be skill discrepancies for sure, but we'll see how each team in turn tries to compensate for that and do what they need to do to get the job done on the field.
Yeah, we've seen before sort of series like this with the Aviators, I believe, being 6-14, if I'm looking at my sheet correctly. Yeah. They are currently the bottom of the Sky Division, and the Puffins are the top of the Arctic Division. Sound familiar? That's right, it's exactly the same as it was last time around, but we saw the team at the bottom end come out swinging. They want to get going as early as possible. They want to throw caution to the wind because they have less to lose in these sorts of matches against arguably the best team in your opposing division in the conference. So one team you're not necessarily fighting for a playoff spot with, but are definitely fighting to take some games off of the guys above you. For the Aviators, if I'm reading this correctly, there is no way this weekend to get into the playoffs. They will be 4 games behind the Puffins if they are to take all 5 games in this series. They are that far behind at this point. They are 9 games behind the second place team in their division. But does not mean that they can't start taking games and start working their way up, and that would require a big win here against a team that, well, they can't drop out of the playoffs at this point because they're already at least more than 5 games ahead of the team in 3rd place.
That is quite the season setup. That is a great setup here for the Puffins, for themselves, putting themselves in a great position. And for the Aviators, you get the sense that this is a swing series for them. This could very well be the series that decides what doubles is going to look like for the rest of the season and their chances later on. So if they can really dig away and take some games here, this could be a huge momentum shift for the team in general, right at the halfway mark in the season. So as we dive here into game number 1, Puffins and Aviators, let us see if the Aviators are up to the task presented to them here against a very stiff opposition in the Puffins. And we'll get things underway here with the Aviators putting on a bit of pressure.
Yeah, Magic Mikey, or Blue Mage Mikey, my apologies for getting his name wrong. We're going to try and create some offense, but backs off when Jammers gets the ball. Pass over to Touchy. Aerial battle there, very rare you see those in Foundation League. Most players are more suited to keeping the ball on the ground, but so far the Aviators have kept this ball in the Puffins half rather well. Real Touchy, pushing to the corner. Won't get past Sinfalenvi, who is trying to apply some pressure, but some great touch there from Monster Jammers will take it away from him. So far, a lot of corner play, no real substance there is your first goal, and once again, it is rinse and repeat in terms of the script here tonight, Thunder, because the team with the lowest standings for their division are beating the team with the most standings in game number 1 early on.
Well, there it is. That's Sinful Envy doing their best Zuberite impression by being on the underdog team and scoring the opening goal in the game. If they want to do a perfect Zuberite impression, they're going to have to do that 2 more times in the series, which is a big ask. But at the very least, that's a good start here for the Aviators, and we'll see if the Puffins have got what it takes to answer back.
Sinful Envy looking to keep applying pressure. Blue Mage Mikey looks to turn, but Monster Jam is absolutely monstrous. But yep, that's right, I made that pun already. That can't be used now for the rest of the series. Touchy will put that one home, as I apparently choke on my own saliva there. Touchy will put that one home. The Aviators, a bit of a miscommunication, and the Puffins have an equaliser.
Well, mercifully for both you and the viewers, a goal was scored to take the attention off of that horrendous pun. I mean, I'm one to talk. I've made my fair share in the span of casting as well, so I am far from faultless in that department. But anyway, I can give you a bit of flack for now until I make a horrible pun of my own. In the meantime, we got a tie game here where the Puffins did very well to capitalize on a bit of shaky defense. From the Aviators side, we're now sat at 3.5 minutes left to play here. Game number 1 of this series, a big chance for a shot. And Blue Mage Mikey, such a deft touch there on the ball just to do exactly what they needed and capitalize on, again, a mistake here. That's been the story of game number 1, is just punishing mistakes.
We see this time and time again in the Foundation League. It's not necessarily about which player has the most mechanics, so that is definitely an important part of this league. If the lowest league, the mechanics are definitely important, but it's about the consistency. And right now the Puffins have been consistently not making the best touches on defense. It has been the Aviators through and through, applying the most pressure, creating the most opportunities, and forcing the Puffins into mistakes. They're not just letting them make their own mistakes in their own time. They are making opportunities, and the Puffins are just not able to deal with it on consistent enough a basis. And it's giving the Aviators a little bit of room, a little bit of a chance in this one, as they once again have a lead. But with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go, this Foundation League, it's not bound to last, or at least not bound to just stay at a 2-1 scoreline, as both teams will look to try and get another one to their name.
Puffins in pretty good shape here in the midfield, trying to find a way through that Aviators backline. Blue Mage Mikey taps a ball into the corner. Monster Jammer's good control off the back wall to get that one clear of the shooting lane. Sinful Envy now off the side wall, collects the boost as well. As the ball is stolen away by Real Touchy, who had a nice early challenge on that one. In troubles now, the Aviators defense. A bit squirrely in the corner. Blue Mage Mikey now trying to gather themselves with a solid tank of boost to work with. Monster Jammers looks for the pass to Real Touchy off the back wall, but a good clear again from Sinful Envy. I think that's something we've seen from both sides. Actually, the clear's pretty quality for the most part. I did say that there's been punishing on mistakes, so it hasn't been spotless, but it's been pretty good, and great save there from Blue Mage Mikey on the goal line, recovering in time to keep the lead intact for the Aviators.
Yeah, and it comes off of that missed touch from Sinful Envy, going for that touch as it bounced off the post and back out in front of the net. There was no clearance away when there needed to be. Blue Mage Mikey now basically throwing all of that away, all by himself. We'll slot this one home. Can you call this one an own goal? I want to. It's not on target. And then it is.
And then it is. That there is the curious matter of it not initially being a shot. Don't want to jump to conclusions too quickly. It does. A little bit.
The curious matter of Blue Mage Mikey's own goal.
Oh my goodness. A series of unfortunate events is going to lead, though, to a third goal here for the Puffins, and now they've gathered themselves a lead. Great pass by Monster Jammers off of that back wall play. Those plays where you can bait a defender into diving when you know you have control on the ball, that it is such a sweet feeling to beat a defender out like that, and it must have felt great for Real Touchy as well, who got a great slab of the net to shoot at after that. And here comes more from the Puffins.
And beginning to start to see the quality of chances begin to differ. The Aviators take advantage of mistakes, and really they didn't have to make a mistake on defense to allow the Puffins to score. The Puffins will just make opportunities out of nothing. Monster Jammers being the predominant factor in that one. Great pass to Real Touchy, almost found the redirect. That would have been incredible.
My goodness.
That would have been play of the season, let alone play of the week. That would have been an amazing goal, but was not meant to be, and the Puffins will somehow only be a goal ahead in the final 40 seconds as the Aviators look to get one back, and will. Touchy out of position, Sinful Envy will get his second, and the Aviators will tie it up with 36 to go.
And what exactly happened here with Real Touchy? I think what happened was that 2 Aviators dived at that clear. And the one coming out of net, I think, was the player that Real Touchy expected to make the touch, and that did not end up being the case. And because of that, they were woefully out of position, and the game got tied. So here are the Aviators hanging in there, tying the game now with 30 seconds to go. In game number 1, we could see an opening fixture overtime here, unless one of these teams has got something to say in regulation. It's a good touch down into the zone from the Puffins. Blue Mage Mikey now on the wall. A little bit uncomfortable, but a nice challenge there to keep that ball in the right side of the field if you're an Aviator. His touch on the wall. Sinful Envy probably envying a little wider hitbox car on that one, and the touch on the wall. Here's a final attempt. Oh, it's off the back wall. This is a chance for the Aviators. Blue Mage dives in. That was a very close chance. The Aviator aerial goes lacking, unfortunately, not living up to their namesake, and it's going to be overtime in game 1.
Yeah, Puffins, of course, not willing to let this one die. That's a mistouch from Monster Jammers. That's an open net that will not be missed. Sinful Envy takes advantage of arguably the 4th mistake so far for the Puffins, forces one out of Real Touchy, trips him up on the rotation back, and the Aviators, to the, I assume, joy in chat of my BTG colleague, Grand CFO, will make it 1-0 in the series against the run of play, against the odds, against statistics. I mean, if that ain't Foundational League in a nutshell, I don't know what is.
Well, every once in a while I get to be right as a caster. Not very often. And in this sense, I was right about predicting chaos and stats being thrown out the window. That's not the most bold prediction anybody's ever made, but I will take the wins when I can get them. So, clearly here, again, the Aviators defying all of the stats. I've taken game number 1 and started off the series in the right way, and it really felt like they stole that game away from the Puffins. Puffins felt like they were about to head a couple of goals clear if they had gotten one more quality chance on net. And instead, game gets tied late, we go to overtime, and Sinful Envy gets a walker back the other way to take this opening game. The Puffins now, I think they're a little bit awake to the challenge that they face from this Aviators team. They can't get complacent about this one.
Yeah, a couple of rotational errors, a couple of missed touches, and that's really all it took. Monster Jammers was the one at the back, needed to make the touch on that one to keep the offensive pressure going, and really, it looked as though he was looking for a shot. They're going to place it top corner and just flipped around the ball. Looked too much for a too tight an angle with the shot, wasn't able to find contact at all, and it costs them completely as it gives away game number 1. Does not give away the series though for the Puffins. They are still hunting for the series win. They don't need to win every game to get a series win. Here in MLE we do play all 5 games, so as we move to game number 2, we are in Neo Tokyo, an odd stadium choice. I like it, but not as much as other stadiums, as Blue Mage Mikey will like making those saves all day long to keep the Aviators from going 1 down inside 10 seconds.
And likely a good redemption round there for Blue Mage after they had that unfortunate defensive touch in the previous game to have a ball not originally on target find its way in. This is a huge chance for the Aviators. The backline of the Puffins fell apart a little bit there, and Sinful Envy, after turning their car every which way, just trying to land on all 4s, gets a brilliant shooting opportunity, and the Aviators, again, they take the lead.
Yeah, and it comes off of, again, just a missed touch from Real Touchy. Looked to try and control it, take it into the corner, wasn't able to find the first touch, and just like that, leaves it completely open for Sinful Envy, who was sent back to the Shadow Realm by his own teammate. Now the Puffins have offensive pressure off of that mistake, and it shut down almost immediately. Monster Jammers not able to make the best touch, will still keep going forward, but won't find a way past Blue Mage Mikey, who had gotten the demo onto Real Touchy to take him out of the play altogether. Puffins find themselves once again having to look, having to build, having to just grind away on the Aviators defense. That's a good shot from Monster Jammers, good save from Blue Mage Mikey, The follow-up from Real Touchy sent over the crossbar by Sinful Envy. A lot of 2-word names in this lobby, and 3 for Blue Mage Mikey. It's a lot of names to keep track of, but you feel like I'm going to get one of them wrong at some point.
I mean, Fallen, it's 4 names. Let's not exaggerate too much here. We have 3s in this league now, and this is the easier of the 2 modes to keep track of the names.
Okay,
so I'm not going to let it. I won't let it slide there. I won't let you complain about it. That's a great save there from Real Touchy to keep the Aviators from getting any more goals in this game. But already we've seen a minute and a half go by. Oh, Monster Jammers fished for a redirect on that play to try to get it towards the net. They've still got control of the ball, but a pinch back down the other way is going to give a little bit of time here for the Aviators to gather themselves. They're now headed into the offensive zone. Real Touchy missing that one. They're going to grab the mid boost for their troubles though and head back towards defense. Blue Mage, sidewall sends forward. Actually on target, forcing a save and a stop out from Real Touchy there. A great pass as well from Blue Mage. And the Aviators, their rotations, so patient here. It's going to pay off. As Sinful Envy just sends another tester in a long line of testers that Aviators keep pouring on towards that net from long range. Finally, it's just enough to tip the scales here and get a second goal.
Yeah, and it comes off of another defensive mistake. Just the Puffins not able to keep up with that level of in and out offensive display from the Aviators. As Sinful Envy gets a rather I think a coincidental touch there as he flipped the boost, ended up catching it with the back of his car. It definitely feels like the Aviators have just had a little bit more rotational consistency, and the Puffins have been breaking down on that rotational front more often than not. An opportunity for Sinful Envy will get the beat of both players, bumped away. Touchy just about doing enough to keep that one at a 2-0 scoreline, and again, just a little bit of a bad placement of the car and a bad shot from Monster Jammers. It's cleared away. Aviators will hold on defense and will maybe look for a goal of their own if they can keep the ball away from the devastating monster that is Monster Jammers.
Oh my, and there is, I think it ended up being a dunk play that Real Touchy got there. Great pass, and you'll see another one here from Monster Jammers out of the corner. Fished for the bump as well, and Sinful Envy, not nearly enough of that ball to get it clear of the net. It's a great dunk play, cuts the lead in half as we have 2 minutes to play. And the Puffins now within striking distance of tying this game. They're probably feeling not all that great about having that previous game stolen from them, and Real Touchy almost added a second goal to their tally there, but the Aviators defense, it's standing up most times when it needs to, and it has kept them in the lead in this game.
Yeah, the consistency of the Aviators defense has not been something that's been called into question that often, but when it has, it's mostly stood up to the Puffins' pressure, and when they've needed it the most, it has worked in their favor. They've been able to hold off attack after attack after attack. Only one so far this game has crept through of the handful of shots we've seen from the Puffins, but they've been making their own offensive chances. Blue Mage Mikey will do it all himself. Steals the ball off one, beats Steeler not once but twice with this shot. And that's all she wrote. Aviators 2-goal lead. Puffins very, very unlikely to find a way back in unless they change up something in their offense.
Well, I gotta say, Blue Mage Mikey, a leader in assists with 8 on their team, but they're not gonna be credited for an assist that they give to themselves. Unfortunately, the self-pass and the cash in there, and speaking of which, Sinful Envy, off of this kickoff play, goes huge time 50-50, stopping that one completely out at the midfield line, and there was no way Monster Jammers was gonna be able to predict how that 50 went in the midfield.
Chat, can we real quick just get a rain check on what car it is that Sinful Envy is using? It's not one I'm personally familiar with, and forgive me if that is your main car that he is playing with. It's not just something I'm used to seeing. We do have 3 other players in 3 Fenix. No Octanes on the field, no Dominus, none of the original cars that really made this game what it is today. I am currently watching chat just to make sure the car. So everyone let us know what that is. But also, in the case of the Aviators, it doesn't matter what car they're using. They've just got the handle right now on the Puffins. The 50 game, the consistency game, the defense strong, holding up so well. How can anyone even manage to cope? In the case of the Puffins, how do you manage to cope with all of this pressure and then turn it into offense on a consistent basis? It's almost impossible.
Oh, it's really impressive here that the Aviators have continued to stand at just 1 goal scored by the Puffins, a team that love to score, and meanwhile, Sinful Envy just loves to score a whole lot more, playing, I believe, the Komodo. I'm super duper going to be wrong about that, but I'd like to hedge a bet that it's the Komodo that they're playing. I lovingly refer to that car as the skateboard when I had friends that used to play it when it came out, and I think it's the Komodo. But I think things get a little cloudy for me about the car designs in Rocket League because they're a little bit samey when it comes to the to the Rocket Pass stuff. So I'm probably wrong on that. And as the time expires here in game number 2, the Aviators are leading 2-0 in a series where they are out-recorded. That's super duper not a word. That's not a word at all. But I'm committing to it. No, I'm going to commit.
Why?
They are out-recorded by the Puffins. By 9 games, the Puffins are ahead of them in the standings, and the Aviators have 2 on this team in the series.
Yeah, it's down to 7. They are slowly but surely reeling the Puffins back in, reeling in a playoff spot, perhaps, as we get to the midpoint of the season. There have been a lot of comments in chat. We've got Tyranno, we have the Werewolf. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, but Tyranno just doesn't sound too nice.
That's not it. Tyranno is the most recent one. It's definitely not that one. Also not the Werewolf, because I have a friend who plays that car as well. So jury is still out on this car. It's the biggest mystery of this series so far, and we've yet to find out what that might be.
We are currently... Chat, please help us. We really need this. But for the Aviators, minus 24 goal diff coming into this, I would like to point out. The Puffins, plus 26. It is incredible how much of a margin there is between these two teams. It's a 50-goal margin either way. And that has been cut down ever so steadily by the Aviators. They have looked the better side in games 1 and 2, but again, if we're to go off of the script, this is where the Puffins turn it around, reverse sweep, and that's all she wrote for the series. So, game number 3, I'm calling the Puffins. I know I'm meant to be unbiased. I'm meant to be a completely observing sort of player. I'm not meant to have a personal favourite or a prediction in this sort of sense, but come on, the script writes itself, no?
It does a little bit. And predictions, fair game. Playing favorites, definitely not. You're right on that one. But I don't think you would have lasted very long as a caster if they didn't let you exercise your right to make predictions, because you like to make them. So thankfully, they're totally legal as far as the caster rulebook goes. And you heard it first here that Fallen is calling Puffins in this game number 3. I think the Puffins are calling Puffins because they don't want to lose the series in a 3-0 sweep here and have to play 2 redemption games at the end of it. But the Aviators, they're playing defense solidly again here in the opening stages of the game. And Sinful Envy, who has been... Oh, maybe it is the Tyranno. I'm totally losing my mind about this car. I couldn't see the hood ornament initially, but it probably is the Tyranno that they're playing. So I was 100% wrong on that. They're not playing the skateboard, as I might have said earlier, that Komodo car. But Sinful Envy, in the one car that is different on this field, has been the standout player of the entire series, I will say, so far. It's been a great team effort between both they and Blue Mage Mikey, but Sinful Envy has been playing lights out Rocket League to put this Aviators team on top.
Yeah, it is the Tyranno, and it is the latest Rocket Pass car, so if anyone would like to go grab it off the Rocket Pass, definitely worth a pickup, I feel. But right now, the Aviators definitely happy with their pickups in Blue Mage Mikey and Sinful Envy. They've been doing a great job. Real touchy though, look at her try and put that to bed. Monster Jam is almost again getting another redirect. That would have been, again, up there. Player of the season level shot. Had that connected, but like most of the Puffins offense, it has been down to those last few words. If it had connected, and it hasn't for them. They have not been able to make it work on the offensive side of the field consistently enough to keep the Aviators in their own half and out of the shooting zone. Sinful Envy forced to make a good save on the goal line to keep this one at bay. Chance for Sinful Envy though to put it on target off the sideboard. Sometimes the best option in those situations to bait a defender out, but Real Touchy will be there for the clearance, and the Puffins looking to get back on offense. That demo will shut it down momentarily and give the Aviators some much needed time on the back line.
Well, only a moment here. Monster Jammers looking for another passing play out of the corner that they did cash in on previously in the series. And it's still a reasonable amount of control here for the Puffins. Real Touchy's going to keep that in the green zone. Monster Jammers, great touch out of the corner, trying to find one mid. No player getting a touch on that one as it goes right by the shooting lane and out of control of the Puffins for a moment. Monster Jammers dives in again. That's a good, quick defensive aerial there from Blue Mage Mikey. And now Sinful Envy, star of this series so far, looking to add a little bit more to their resume on this one. Now 2v1 back the other way. Great early challenge by Blue Mage Mikey. And that is a sign of confidence, a big sign of confidence for the Aviators. When you see early challenges like that on defense, you might be in some trouble here. And Monster Jammers actually had a flip, tried to use it to get a piece of that one. And Monster Jammers, are we going to see one of these go in? Because there have been, I think, at least 3 chances now that have serious POTW potential that just don't connect. And I think if you're a fan of Rocket League, you want to see one go in just for the fireworks.
Yeah, I know. What an opportunity left the Aviators will go begging, but again, it's 3 chances that haven't found a way in, which have stopped me from making that fancy ad read that I do every time there is a Player of the Week nomination level goal. Right now, though, Monster Jammers will clear this one away, mate. Blue Mage Mikey trying to apply pressure for the Aviators, but nothing is really going for either team. This is the longest deadlock period of any game so far in this series, and of course it comes in Game 3 with everything on the line. Both teams not willing to be the one that throws it away. Real Touchy will look for a double tap. That's actually on target and will find its way home. There's no defender home for it. And the Puffins will take the first goal. It is 1-0.
Well, the defender, they were home, but they had headphones on. They didn't hear people knocking on the door. And the package got delivered without them being able to receive it. It is well and truly a significant goal here for the Puffins at the 1-minute mark. This is trouble though, back the other way. Sinful Envy goes slow on the play. Sinful Envy takes out Real Touchy. Monster Jammers doesn't get a piece of the ball. Let's take another look on the goal replay, because there was a lot of orange and none of it could stop that ball from going in. And the Aviators are continuing to clutch this out, and they might just steal another game from the Puffins as they did in game number 1.
That would be heartbreaking for the Puffins, because this is a team that hasn't lost a series to this point. They have won every series they have played. There has to have been one in the 4 series that they have played up until this point, but they have won 3-2. But it would require a lot more than what we're seeing on the defensive front, because it just feels like the Aviators have had their number. Sinful Envy and Blue Mage Mikey both putting in an equal performance so far. There has been arguably Sinful Envy has been the number 1 player for them, but at the same time it doesn't feel like one player has been doing all of the work. It has been a group effort for the Puffins. You can't really name an MVP from them. Neither player has stood out as much as the Aviators have, and that's down to that 2-0 lead that we find ourselves with 5 seconds on the clock. Sinful Envy will look to put it home. The Aviators will not find a goal. The Puffins won't either, but this one, it's still up off the ground. It still could find a way home. No, put down by Sinful Envy. We're going to overtime, game 3 with the series on the line.
Oh, I can hear the cheers from the crowd, the cheers from chat. You love to see it. Another overtime frame in this series. The last one went the way of the Aviators. And if you're a Puffins fan, this one cannot go that way. They have to take this game to keep their hopes alive and to keep that script that you talked about alive, because you said a sharp angle shot. Out of nowhere, Sinful Envy finds the angle, capitalizes on a very uncomfortable defender, and the Aviators just took another game on a comeback in the late stages of the game. My goodness, it is 3-0 in this series, and the Puffins are playing for dignity now.
Wow. I have no words to describe that. That is arguably the toughest angle I've ever seen a Foundation League player score intentionally, may I might add. Normally you get those by accident, those sorts of shots where it shouldn't go in, but it does. Those sorts of ones, they happen by accident, they happen by a fortunate touch. No, Sinful Envy went for that angle. He found the angle off the post and in. The Puffins have lost their first series this season, and it's off the back of a 6-14 Aviators team, who are now 9-14 with only their second series win of the season. Yes. Wow. What a story.
Yeah, wow. As we say in total synchronicity there.
Wow.
Wow. That is a huge deal for this Aviators team. And I pointed to the fact that a series like this against one of the stiffest opponents in your conference it's a tipping point. It's a shifting point for your whole season in the mode that you're playing in. If they're sat at a record of 6-14, this could be it if this series swings a big way in one direction or the other. If the Puffins still get 2 games here, the Aviators will have wanted more because it's not the giant momentum swing they're going to wish for. So for this to be really impactful for the Aviators, they need to keep winning the way that they have been. And that's a tough thing to do, to keep control of a series when they've already pulled off 2 miraculous comebacks to steal games. It's a lot to ask of the Aviators to continue to do what they have been doing. But at this point, they look totally willing, ready and willing to do it. And now the onus is on the Puffins to turn this thing around and start connecting on some plays.
Yeah, and it's going to be very hard when one player is all the way up the other end of the field after being demoed, touching off of the respawn. We'll get a touch, but the aggression from the Aviators, it's not something we really get to note on that much in Foundation League, because a lot of the players are very timid, very hesitant. They're not willing to take risks and throw themselves up the field so aggressively. But the Aviators have been utilizing that sort of hesitation from the Puffins, that sort of delayed touch play, and they have taken advantage. They have taken control on such a consistent basis of the midfield, of the possession, of the boost as well, and they've just dominated the majority of this series. When the Puffins have come forward, they have looked dangerous, but defense is shaky, and there's only so many shots you can keep out at this level before one finds its way home. His Monster Jam is about to find his first of this game. He won't, and the Puffins will have to try and start again. They are doing a good job of pushing forward now, though. Aviators a little bit flat-footed on defense just there.
A little bit, but just enough pep in their step to keep that one out of the net. Oh. Sinful Envy chips past one, tries to regain control of the ball, but that's a nice retreating bit of defense there from Monster Jammers. They now look for a touch in the middle of the field. Blue Mage Mikey is going to seize control of this one. Gives away that control to Real Touchy now, who's in the corner. Got a third of a tank to boost to work with. It's a decent challenge in the middle of the field. Now a race for the ball. It was actually direct on target. Blue Mage Mikey was looking to go underneath Monster Jammers on that one, but a chance back the other way. And Monster Jammers finds a bit of pace here, and the Puffins find themselves an opening goal.
Yeah, Monster Jammers just getting the touch there, and Sinful Envy not finding the touch. That's crucial. It's almost harkening back to games 1 through 2, where at the point where they needed to make a touch, a player did not on defense, and that costs them. Once again, the Puffins, for once the Puffins have found themselves not the team in that situation where they needed to make the touch. Instead, Monster Jammers makes the player make the mistake, makes Sinful have to go for such a sharp touch, and then we'll start it home. But Blue Mage Mikey will just do it himself with a big long clear up the field. Well, fair play to Sinful with that pass across, beautifully placed. But Monster Jammers not finding the save, and the Puffins, all of their hard work undone immediately.
And this really has been the MO for the Aviators team, is that they just constantly pressure the net with shots. They're not the world's most threatening shots. Very few of them you could consistently count on being a goal in the game of Rocket League. But they're hitting so many of them that it forces quick rotations and saves out of the Puffins time and time again until it just breaks down their defense. And that has been a huge marker of success for the Aviators in, again, when they're down in a game, finding the tie. That's a shaky touch out in front from Blue Mage Mikey. Great recovery from Sinful Envy. But we're sat tied at the midway mark of this game number 4. Can't believe it's only game number 4. It feels like we've played an epic between these two squads so far. But it's a 3-0. Series lead, a clean sweep so far for the Aviators. Sinful Envy looking for a clean touch. On that one, they can't get it into the right spot, though, and Real Touchy's coming back the other way. Dribble opportunity, chips it past. Just that little extra piece of the ball was enough to get it past Blue Mage Mikey on the back end, and the Puffins have regained their lead.
There's a little bit of the pace that I feel like the Puffins were lacking. That a little bit of aggression coming forward, making those extra touches. It has worked in their favor this time around, and the Puffins are going to try and close the gap on the Hawks at the top of the division. The Hawks, of course, playing, I believe, the Wolves this week in their Foundation League matchup. That's going to be an interesting one to see how that one plays out. But for the teams we're looking at right now, for the Aviators, for the Puffins, the Aviators, they're looking to other results, which will also be very important for them. The team they have to catch up to, the Ducks. The Hawks, long gone, 18-2 at the top of the division. They will hold on to that no matter what. But the Ducks hold that final playoff spot at a 15-10. If the Aviators are to take all 5 games, that requires a bit of a comeback here in game number 4. But it is possible. We've seen them win games from this position beforehand. They will have to find 2 now as Touchy will put this one home. But they will need to find another 4 games throughout the rest of the season on the Ducks to take that spot. And it's going to take a little bit more than just sitting around on defense and waiting for the shot to do that.
Yeah, and if you do that, Monster Jammers, as they have done a few times in this series, are probably going to find a pass out into the mid to Real Touchy. And Real Touchy absolutely slapped that ball into the upper 90 to make it 3-1 here for the Puffins. They're trying to do it again. Monster Jammers dives in, but too high on the read on the backboard for that one. Aviators now with a chance the other way that they need to have, and Sinful Envy losing the handle on that one. It's the first cracks starting to show in the confidence for the Aviators team. A nice save forced out there, and Sinful Envy gets a good piece of that one. Real Touchy getting demoed in the middle of the field. Who's the first player on the ball? Sinful Envy now. A touch past one. Real Touchy. Really slow on that one, and probably the smart play there. Did not want to give that backfield open by making a risky challenge. That's off the top. Crossbar, post, a little bit of both, I think, on that one. And what can the Aviators do here? Sinful Envy missing the touch again, and that's inconsistency just starting to creep in for the Aviators for the first time in this series, and the Puffins are going to capitalize. No, they're not. What a save off the post from Sinful Envy, and the offense might not be coming, but the defense is still there.
Where did he come from? The man has had to dive so far back with no boost in the tank, has somehow got across the net to make the save, pinching it into the post, and now we'll make another one to make sure it's only 3-1, only a 2-goal deficit that they had to overcome. They will not overcome it in game 4. They will drop their first one in the series. The Puffins take game number 4 to keep a little bit of momentum in their favour, but my lord, that save has completely caught me off guard, and I am still sort of recovering from it. But, a better game from the Puffins though, a much more offensively dominant game, 10 shots to 3. Arguably the Puffins were the best side in that one, and rarely have looked as good as that in this series.
And the Puffins, they weren't doing anything, I would say, spectacularly different than what they did in previous games in the series. It's that a lot of the offensive chances for the Aviators just didn't have that venom to it that they did in previous games in the series. So it was a one-and-done thing. They would either hit the shot off target or not hit it in the right spot at all. And it just gave a much more of a wealth of chances to the Puffins team, who weren't tested all that much on defense. They didn't have to spend a lot of time in their end because the Aviators' pressure just wasn't there. So Puffins here, without a huge adjustment, have found themselves a game in the series. And now the Aviators are going to have to find that former glory of games 1, 2, and 3, where they just had so much pressure on the Puffins net. We'll see if they can find it here, because if they don't, Puffins have, as we've seen, more than enough skill to get the job done here and get themselves 2 games in this series. And that would spoil that effort that I said the Aviators are trying to make here. And the difference between a 4-1 and a 3-2 is so huge for the Aviators' record right now. This is a crucial game for their series and their season.
Oh yeah, 100%. As we get ready for game number 5, we are over at the Manfield Knight Stadium. This is one I think we both hold has a dear place in our hearts. But for the Aviators, they're going to want to make this their home stadium. If they can come away with a 4-1 series win off of the back of a win here, this is the turnaround they need in their run for the playoffs. They will be 10-15, only 5 games back from the Puffins. They will look for it, but Real Touchy will just about keep Sinful Envy at bay. Now Blue Mage Mikey looking to try and find some of that early form. Can't put that one on target off the backboard and away, and Real Touchy will look to come forward. But again, the Puffins, they kind of need this one, I think, a bit more than the Aviators, as Real Touchy will take that away from Monster Jammers, whether intentional or not, trying to put it home. And the Aviators will be able to escape from a goal opportunity there and will look to come forward for themselves.
Ooh, that was a decent chance there, too, that could have been jumped on off the post. It was a good, quick defensive play to keep that out of the shooting lane. And you're right that chance for the Puffins was undone by their own doing, by Real Touchy wanting a little bit too much of that ball and throwing Monster Jammers off, who had dived in to take a shot. Monster Jammers now not on the field at all. Is this in? It is. Thought it might have a chance to go crossbar and down or crossbar and out, but it's no crossbar at all. Just a long-range shot from none other than Blue Mage Mikey, who's had a few of those in this series, and the Aviators have got that early lead. It was a sign of success for them in the earlier games in this series. We'll see if that's the case in the last one.
Let's talk about the build-up to that goal, though. Monster Jammers takes a touch, controls it, but he's facing backwards, so he's not able to really do much with it. Goes to try and tee it up for Real Touchy, who's the one waiting to make the touch and clear that ball further upfield. Sinful Envy dives across, however, demos Monster Jammers out of the way as he bumps Real Touchy out in the corner there, giving Blue Mage Mikey a little bit of room, but the shot not powerful enough to get past him. That one will be cleared all the way back down into the Aviators' half, but the demo creates a smoke screen for Blue Mage Mikey. Completely throws off Real Touchy. Just like that touch threw him off. Sinful Envy will make it too. He has been the man of the hour for the Aviators. When they've needed him to score, he has, and he's doing so well.
What a touch to go inside the defender who was diving across. That's not a great position on defense, but a save, the potential for a save was there. And Sinful Envy chose correctly on going inside or outside on that play, and they got inside the head of the defenders on that one in a big way. Blue Mage Mikey now trying to test the defense yet again. The Aviators up 2-0 with 3 minutes are in a great spot to close out this 4-1 for themselves that they so desperately need, and we'll see what the Puffins have got on the other side of the field. See if they can get that offense going that they had in the previous game. Real Touchy on the side wall, trying to send mid. Monster Jammers is on the retreat though. Pass upfield, that was a good look from Blue Mage Mikey, but Sinful Envy not ready for the power on that ball. They've still got control of it in the corner here. Real Touchy to the side wall now is going to chase this one downfield, only for a moment though, as they get demoed. And demos haven't, I would say, been too impactful in this series. They've more so just been the occasional one to break up the rhythm of play on the field.
Yeah, and the Aviators have been really the team to use them the most, but they haven't been excessive. They haven't been a strongly implemented part of their playstyle. It's only been the occasional touch that has really worked out for them when they have desperately needed it. That Sinful Envy demo. I will bring attention to it because I still think that's one of the best plays ever. Creates a smoke screen to throw off your enemy player and give your teammate an open line of sight for an open net. You don't do that. Well, you don't do that on purpose. That doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. You don't get that lucky with the placement of everyone. But either way, an incredible turnaround from the Aviators here to bounce back from that loss. But the Puffins are not done yet. Monster Jammers will send that one home. Sinful Envy finally not being able to make a save. And the Puffins will have half the lead.
Well, you know what? Monster Jammers at 2.8 goals a game as a stat line, you can bet they are not done yet after scoring that goal. It's business as usual for Monster Jammers if you look at from a season standpoint. But if they have 2.8 goals a game, they're going to want to live up to that statistic because they're still down by 1 here against the Aviators that are continuing to press in their end. Real Touchy, meanwhile, also 1.6 goals per game, I believe. No, never mind. Real Touchy, that is scrim data, actually, that they have the 1.6 goals per game. Don't have a read on them for game statistics, actually, so I think Real Touchy maybe a relatively new player in the whole picture here for the Puffins. Monster Jammers more of the mainstay for their team. And what does Monster Jammers have in the tank here? If they are the mainstay, and they are the player with that big stat lines, what have they got here to show up for the Puffins? Because there are 50 seconds of Rocket League to be played here, and the Puffins need a goal for themselves, down to 45 now, and Sinful Envy knocking on the door yet again, forcing a save out from Monster Jammers.
Yeah, it's definitely felt very odd in this series because coming in, everything on paper points to a Puffins, I wouldn't say dominance, but a more controlled series from them where they are the favourites. They are expected to have better stats across the board because in terms of salaries as well, which salaries now of course being much more accurate to the player level of ability thanks to the MLE Scrim bot. Thank you devs for putting that together for us. It has been a wonderful change of pace, not having to play ranked this season. But a great beat there from Sinful Envy will throw the Puffins off. We'll get to my point after the series, because right now it is the dying embers. The Puffins will look for one more goal. Monster Jammers to touch the Real Touchy, and he can't find it. The Aviators will take Game 5. They will take the series 4-1. And what a great series win for them, because that's just kept their playoff hopes alive.
It really has. That was a pretty solid look, I will say, from the Puffins at the end of the game there. You saw the thinking on Monster Jammers to get that pass back out into the mid for real touchy, and it was so close to working out for them. I think any fan of Rocket League will have wished for some 0-second magic there, but it's not going to come through. And the Aviators, with that 4th game win in the series, they move now to 10-15. And that's still not a glowing record if you look at it in a vacuum. But if you think about just them moments ago being 6-14, those hit a little bit different. Those two stat lines, they feel differently. So this is a big push in the right direction for the Aviators, and especially taking down a team that are as strong as the Puffins. The Puffins played very well in this series, but hey, it wasn't well enough.
Yeah, 2 overtime wins for the Aviators, really sealing the deal there. But again, I was going to bring up the salary difference between these teams. You mentioned it at the beginning, the gap between a 6.5 and a 9.5 definitely feels like there is a bit of a gap in skill. And if you couldn't tell, Blue Mage Mikey was the man with the 6.5 salary, definitely played above that all throughout the series. Same for Envy, Monster Jammers, Real Touchy, all lift up to their salaries, but it's really that elevation from the Aviators. Playing and punching above your weight at times, that can really be the difference in these sorts of series. The salary cap difference, by the way, between the teams, when you add up both players' individual salaries, the Puffins had an 18 coming in collectively, a 9.5 for Monster Jammers, and 8.5 for Real Touchy. The Aviators had a 16 because of the 6.5 of Blue Mage Mikey and the 9.5 of Synth Envy. That's a 2 salary gap. It doesn't sound like a lot, but in terms of skill, across the board, it feels like the Aviators should have been at a disadvantage, but they were just more clinical. They were just more consistent. And that is something we don't see very often in Foundation League, a team winning on consistency only, not mechanical skill.
I think the Aviators can be very grateful they found confidence early in the series, too.
Yes.
It really felt as though getting that opening goal, being in control in game number 1, that was the building block that they used to be the foundation of the entire series for themselves. And that confidence, it was there all the way through. There were, troughs and crests, I think is the term for waves, crests and troughs here and there in that confidence, but it was always there, and it was so crucial for them to have that and to continue pouring that on, because it ended up being a big deal. That shows how much this is a mental game. It really is night and day when you have the right attitude on the field, and I think that was the biggest thing that the Aviators, in particular Blue Mage Mikey, had here that put them over the top.
And as we look forward to the rest of the series for today's stream, we do have 2 more coming up for you. But that will be it from myself and Thunder. We will be passing it over to the team, I believe, of Foof and Wasabiaki, which is an incredible team, if that is the team that I believe is actually commentating. You do not want to miss them as they commentate more Puffins. But the Champion League variety this time around. The Threes League have the Puffins and the Jets for CL. You do not want to miss this matchup because it is coming your way right after this short intermission.